Good morning and welcome to 755 Live, about 5 minutes of what Jesus said. We are live this morning, September 30th, here at Ironworks Coffee in downtown Weatherford. You can find a different command of Jesus every weekday at our Bible plan at bible.today.church. It's a 5-day-a-week plan, really easy to follow, and you'll find a command of Jesus on there every weekday. Good morning, Jennifer. Glad to have you here. And that's a good reminder that it really helps and would mean a lot to me. If this segment is meaningful to you, if you like it, if you share it, if you comment, it really helps us get the word out and make much of Jesus, which is the whole point of this. The Jesus Said segments are soundbite versions of the commands of Jesus, just so that we can learn them and apply them to our lives. Jesus said, go make disciples by teaching these new disciples to obey all the commands that I have given you. Today's Jesus Said is love God completely. It comes from Matthew 22, verse 37 through 38. Thank you, Carol, for checking in. Good morning to you. Verse 37 of Matthew 22. Jesus replied, you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, and all your mind. So love God completely is the soundbite version of that. But Jesus said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. And then verse 38, he said, this is the first and greatest commandment. I'm old enough to remember a comedy duo named Abbott and Costello, and they did this thing called Who's on First, and made a joke about a baseball game, and the guy on first base, his name was Who, and they just never could get it right, who's on first, and they went through this long thing about all of the bases and never really could understand who is on first because that was his name. Well, sometimes we follow Jesus that way, not really realizing who's on first or what loving God completely, putting him first, really is. First is not just a position like 1 out of 2 or 3 or 4. First is a priority. You know, you hear we need to love God first, love family, and then go on from there, loving, our country, loving all these things, and loving those other things is good and important, but we have to love God first. So it's really not love God first and then everything else. It's love God first, love God first, love God first. Because if you love God and then love your family, but if you don't have love for God as first in your love for family, you're just going to be living according to the flesh and not walking in the Spirit. Before I read some context here from 1 John 5, verses 1 through 4, I want to also say hello to Candace and Brenda. Thank you for checking in this morning as well. 1 John 5, 1 through 4 says, everyone who believes that Jesus is the Christ, that he's the Messiah, has been fathered by God. And everyone who loves the Father loves the child fathered by him. By this, we know that we love the children of God, whenever we love God and obey his commandments. For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments. And his commandments do not weigh us down, because everyone who has been fathered by God conquers the world. Loving God completely means we obey him. We follow his commands. We obey the commands of Jesus. We obey the teachings of the New Testament without compromise, no matter what category we're in. Loving God first means that we love him completely and with everything. Romans 8:6 says, for the outlook of the flesh is death, but the outlook of the Spirit is life and peace, because the outlook of the flesh is hostile to God. Verse 7, for it does not submit to the law of God, nor is it able to do so. The flesh doesn't want to obey the commands of God. But if we love God, we crucify the flesh, and we do that by obedience. Loving God completely means He's first in everything. That means that if we have a command to love our enemies, love our neighbor, we put God first and follow Him completely. You can't love God first and then not include Him first in every other category. Jesus said the first and greatest commandment, you must love God completely. That's where life is. Following our own flesh, that's where death is. Jesus said, love God completely. How can we put that into action today?